And it's still preparing.
I think we're live.
Go.
Hello. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Roundup. So we all got on here today having a little chat about what we're going to talk about, which led us into a little bit of a rabbit hole because we'd all had a little bit of time away. So then we started talking about how do you take time away? How do you prioritize that? That can be a tricky thing when you're a studio owner. This then led us into the concept of summer slump. I don't know exactly how we got there, but we got there somehow. And everyone had creative ideas for thinking about the summer slump and also thinking about prioritizing. So one thing that I actually thought of was the idea, the concept from the book Profit First, which I know Terry is a massive fan of this, proponent of that every time. The idea being that you prioritize things in a different way in your business. Instead of thinking, okay, I'm going to pay all of my bills and, you know, the rent and the teachers and I'm going to pay all the costs, and whatever is left over, that's my profit. So you turn it upside down and you say, I'm going to make this much profit every month. You start by putting that money away, then you pay everything else. So this concept, you could apply that to other areas of your business. For example, taking time away. So as a studio owner, who is the most important person in your business? It's you. If you fall apart, if you burn out, everything is going to be broken. So you have to make sure that your batteries are charged, you have the energy, and yeah, just the will to carry on. Otherwise, it's all going to fall apart. So turning it upside down, taking time away first, planning that out first, and then plan for all the other things. So Terry had some creative ideas how to use time blocking to do that. I'll bowl it over to you, Terry.
Okay. I'm making my little note here. So so I was thinking that when we were down this rabbit hole, and I actually have rabbit holes in my backyard, by the way. And did you know that rabbits on average poop between 400 and 500 times a day? And they leave these little pellets, and they're all around my backyard. And my little Lucy Lou, loves rabbit pellets. And so now I'm trying to train my dog not to eat rabbit pellets. So yes. So rabbit holes, anyway, this is how we go down rabbit holes, right? And dogs eating poop. So anyway, so the concept of time blocking. And when Vicki and the team were talking about, you know, how to take some time off. And I know when you're down in the trenches and you're struggling and you're just like, you can't see the forest for the trees. And I think every single one of us, I know I've been there. I'm sure everybody on our team has been there. You're thinking, there's no way in flipping hell I can take any time out of my studio. I have to be there. And I totally get that. And at the same time, by some of the simple strategies, like Vicki said, is I love the idea of the profit first. So time first for yourself. And then that led me think about the concept of time blocking. And we've talked a lot about this in the YC. And time blocking is, if you think about your class schedule, right, that you publish, that's a time block, right? It's a block of time that from this time to this time, you're doing this thing. And then as a teacher, if you're teaching that class, that is a block of time on your schedule, right? So I know that I need to be at the studio at 9 o'clock on every Tuesday to teach the 9:30 a.m. class. So that's a block of time. And you know exactly what you're going to do during that block of time. So you can take that concept when we talk about blocking your entire week out, right? So that you block chunks of time when you're working. So you have the working in the business, which is when you're at the studio teaching class. For me, I love to play in the retail and move things around, and you time block there, but also time blocking for when you're working on the business. For me, I did payroll on Mondays. And so Monday sort of just became my default like bookkeeping day. So every Monday I was updating my QuickBooks, you know, doing all of those tasks done. And then every other Monday I ran payroll. So that kind of and I wasn't even really familiar with the concept of time blocking at that point, but it just by default, that became the way I did it. So taking that is like, okay, take some blocks of time, look at your calendar, and Josh is a huge proponent of this. You block out those chunks of time. So maybe Monday is going to be finance. You're going to work on your books or whatever. So you block that time off and you put it in your calendar and you set it as a meeting. And even if it's a meeting with yourself, it can become somewhat sacrosanct. Like if you were going to a team meeting and you would show up if you were expected to be there, same thing, you show up. And then if you know that this is my finance time block, then these are the tasks I'm working on. Then maybe you have a time block for planning. And these are the things I'm planning. So basically it's like, okay, what are the things that need to be done this week? And we do have a template, a sprint meeting template that you can use with your team if you don't have one. If you do have a coach, you can ask your coach about that, right? And then you can use that. Even if I have some clients that are using this template for themselves and they do it with themselves. And it's getting them in the cadence of having that meeting with themselves. And then setting up these blocks of time throughout the week could possibly create more space for you. Then if you're just so underwater that it's like, I can't even take a weekend off. Well, maybe you can take 4 hours off, right? To Vicky's point, set some time aside. And then in those 4 hours, or maybe it's just 1 hour, whatever it is, do something completely unrelated to your business. And I mean completely out, not even go take a yoga class, because I don't know, but unless you're going to go to some other yoga studio, great. But if you're going to go take a class at your own yoga studio, forget it. You get caught up into even if you're going, I'm just going to go in and leave. I don't know. I found that near impossible. So set that time where maybe you get a massage. Maybe it's as simple as going for a walk or a hike. Maybe you go to the museum and my sister and I are going to go to the Dayton Art Institute this weekend because they have this fabulous exhibit that we want to see, right? So maybe you do things like that, little small snippets of getting out of your business. So check out, do you time block? If you do, post them, comment below. How do you do it? If you're not time blocking, it's pretty simple. You just use your calendar, right? So what do you guys think about that?
I'll jump in on that. I love that idea. And I think that, sometimes we can think also about this stuff as like action items, quarterly goals, year goals, like personally as well. When you're an entrepreneur, your personal life and your business life, kind of tend to, go together. So we have to actually plan for personal stuff within our business. So, and like thinking maybe about the smaller action items, it might be, when I look at my schedule as I've time blocked it out on Wednesdays from, 1 to 3, it looks like I'm just kind of putting things in that area. What if every single week on Wednesday for 1 to 3 was, turn off my phone time, leave the studio, take a walk, take a nap, whatever it is, it's just your time and it's protected time. Put it on your calendar as protected time where nobody can schedule anything in that time. And, use that for like your short term. And then maybe quarterly, you say, I'm going to take off once a quarter, besides vacations or family time, just personal time for yourself. Once a quarter, I'm going to take off an entire day from work. So it could even be a weekend if you're working on weekends and stuff, whatever it is. And then you could say, put into your plan every year, I'm going to take a 1 week vacation on my own or a 1 week vacation with my family or whatever your specific things are. But we know if we don't put that time in there, it's just not going to happen. It's just like any other goals that we have. If you don't set goals, you don't meet goals, right? So you really thinking of yourself and filling up your own cup in your business, just like you would do if you were telling a friend that they needed to do this. And what I find, if we're really struggling with doing this, what I find is when I take that time away, the creative, even if I say I'm not working on my business, I'm just going for a walk or I'm going to see a movie, the creative ideas and like the solutions for your business come at those times when you give yourself space and time away. And I think that it mirrors good behavior for other people in your life, for other business owners, for your employees, for your teachers. So, you know, we have to just be careful that we're not martyring through our business and being sad. Oh, I never get time away. It's so hard. It's so this, it's so that. You know, like if we actually set ourselves up, there is time. You know, I mean, if you tracked, my phone tells me how much screen time I have on it every single week, more or less from the week before. If I took that 6% that I had more from last week and used that 6% time when I'm screen timing to, you know, even 3% to get some shit done, I would have time to take off in the day to take a walk. Vicky or Alex, you want to mention something?
Mine was just really quick. I was just going to say what you said there, that time when you take away, that's when the creative ideas come. We saw so many amazing examples of that during the Yoga Business Summit last year, because every single owner who was there had this week away from their business, and oh my God, the stuff they came up with, just so good. So yeah, I would highly recommend doing that. Alex.
Yeah, I would say those are all really good points. And until you take the time, let's say you're a newer studio owner and you haven't taken any time, let's say, or you've been owning a studio for a long time and it's been a while since you've taken time and certainly haven't blocked that time out. So until you take that time, it's hard to recognize the effects of it. One of the things that if you're a studio owner right now and you're feeling like, okay, this sounds great, block the time, but I have all these things I need to do. I got to sign in these classes, I got to clean the studio, what have you, is think about this, is block the time out in the next quarter for yourself. Let's say a getaway or weekly, what have you. And then think about different systems in your studio that you can create to support the inner workings of the daily aspects of the studio. So this could be like a karma cleaning program. This could be, some people do trade at the front desk if you can't quite pay for that right now. I'm not a big advocate of trade for the front desk, but some people do that. Let's see if we can budget to get someone on the payroll to help you at the front desk, etc. But I think the point is like the profit and time for self. When you go back to your business plan from the original business plan, if you wrote one and you look at it, does it say, Alex Wheeler, I'm going to do everything in my studio, teach 30 classes a week, clean the studio, do all the books, do the payroll, do everything? And probably not. Like, that's not how you envisioned it. And then 3 years later, you realize, geez, I'm doing all these things. So, if you don't have a coach, or if you do have a coach, talk to your coach about creating systems of support in order to create space and time so that you can be that leader and have that levity. Because I know for sure it also will test the systems that you have in place. If you've been working with a coach for a while, you've created some systems and some structure, and you take a week away and you go out of the country, let's say, and you come back and guess what? The place hasn't burned down. The teachers mostly showed up, let's say, and the classes went off with a hit and somebody sold 2 annuals. I mean, it can happen. And I used to experience it all the time. And I'll finish it. One time I went away from my studio for a week and I was gone for a week. And after a week, we decided we're not going home. And we just called the manager at the time and said, we're not coming home on Saturday. We don't know when we're coming home. We're off the grid. We spent a month away from the studio. And of course, we compensated everybody, et cetera, but it worked and it changed the trajectory of that time period of our life and studio ownership. So be brave, create time and space, and prioritize yourself.
Alex, a couple of points there. I was going to say too, is I love the systemization. And sometimes, and I know I've mentioned this before, is sometimes you have to take time away. Like when my mother was ill in her final days, and it was get on a plane, got the phone call, get on a plane, get here now. And this was at the end of January, busiest time of the year, right? And I was gone for 3 weeks from after my mother passed away. I couldn't even think about my studio at this point. And guess what? It was fine. In fact, they did really well without me because the by Vicky because of the systemizations and all that thing. So taking that time, I love what you said, Alex, about systemizing to take time off, which is whether it's planned time off or unplanned time off. So that's why we do talk about systemizations and SOPs and why we coach really strongly to that. But I also like what you said, Alice, about demonstrating leadership, because it does demonstrate leadership when you are able to do that and people are like, wow, they can take time off and go away for a month or go away. And again, it might take time to get there. We're not saying that you're going to do it day one, but when you're just working towards that, and part of what helps you to get to that point is the systematization, is the SOPs and getting those things, this as building the machine. You build the machine so that when you're away, the machine keeps going. And I am going to just digress in a little bit of a rabbit hole, because I don't know if you noticed, Alex, when you said get karma people for the front desk.
Yeah.
That's my personal bias there is I would, unless you get a karma person who is proficient in sales, a karma person to just check people in class, and that's all they're doing, is a huge loss for you. You're losing money, in my opinion.
Yeah,
You guys
yeah.
really disagree with me, because we talk a lot about this, and we're doing on-sites, and we talk about, in fact, we're doing a webinar on Tuesday on the first visit flow, and the front desk is like, it is the gateway to improving your studio, improving your profitability, improving everything. And it's not just merely a place where someone checked people in the class.
Well, and to your point, I 100% agree. I never had any desk people that didn't pay. That being said, I do know there's a lot of studio owners right now who
Right.
feel as if they can't get great block time for themselves or time away because they actually are that front desk person for all their teachers and their 17 to 20 classes. So there may be a hybridized process in which you get that one good person for that 1 week that you go away. Right. And then over time, you work with a coach and we help you budget to figure out how you can have front desk staff on strategic classes for sales. I think, Jennifer, your point about is really important about the levity in which you lead from. In other words, if you are, as we say, we believe you don't have to suffer for your service. One of the things is we know as studio owners ourselves in the past or present is that what it feels like to be a leader and suffering, right? We know that, and the effects that has on your staff, your student, your teachers and your students eventually, and the whole energy of your studio. So it's imperative, because when people come to a yoga studio, when they walk into a yoga studio, they have a perception of what they're going to experience. And if it's reaction and drama and challenges, they can feel that. It's felt at every level of the studio. And when you go to a studio that's not in that position, the owner's away on a week with the family or something like that, things are different. So I can't emphasize that enough, how important that is to the overall experience of the studio and how people perceive your studio and your community, especially over time. What else
I
you
was
got, Jen?
gonna readdress, we talked about summer slump and when we were having our little chat before, I can't believe in our chat before, we didn't talk about rabbit poops, because that's super interesting that I know they make a lot of babies. So maybe that there's a correlation to the poop and the babies. I don't know. So what if, kind of like riffing off of profit first, where we're putting, ourselves, our profit, other things, turn it upside down. What if we change the mindset from summer slump to summer slam or something like that, right? And we just thought, like, this summer,
Love that.
and the thing is, like, we just can't just change the word. Like, it always kind of drives me crazy when people are like, just reframe it in your head. Like, yes, that's part of it. That's the first step, but we actually have to put shit in place. It's not just a reframing of it in our head. That's the first step, is we have to reframe it, but then we have to put some stuff in place. So, what are the things that we can put in place? So we talked about a little bit before we got on the call, being really, really clear with your suspension and your termination policies for membership, right? So let's say your policy is you can suspend for 1 month for no cost every 12 months or something like that. Little side note, there's always a side note and an asterisk next to everything. Make sure that your policies and the generosity of your policies are only available for the membership you want everyone to join. So if you have an unlimited membership and then you have a mini membership, in my opinion, right? We only want perks to be the highest membership that we want. Okay, so if that's your policy, then is your membership set up in a way that if they terminate and they come back, is it the same price? So why do they care if they terminate for a month or two and they're going to come back? So you have to think about that strategy of your first month of membership, and then the membership going forward. Is it set up in a way that incents people? So that's the people who are thinking of price. Now there's also the people who, when they terminate or suspend over the summer for your summer slam or whatever word we decide it's going to be, slam dunk, I don't know, another S word that's like good, is for the people who aren't thinking about price. So the people who want accountability and they want to be part of your community and whatnot. Do you have anything that they get that are like, online classes or recorded classes or emails that they're getting with pose breakdowns or anything that are keeping them, feeling motivated and connected with your studio, so that those people that are making the decision based on that reason. So that's one thing. And then obviously we want to have some activations planned that you planned last November when you did the webinar, that are coming into effect now. Activations that keep people excited at the studio. It can be a 1-week challenge. It can be a bingo. It can be a new class that you're adding. It can be, for us, we're doing a little refresh on our lobby, just to make it like something new of when you come in, you're going to see something different. I found this super cool company on Etsy that will print peel and stick wallpaper with your logo on it. So we're doing like a little part of the logo that's going to be in there. So it could be, something like that. But what if we imagined and we started thinking, okay, this summer, instead of a slump, and we're already decided it's going to be a slump. So when people call to suspend or terminate, we're just like, well, that just happens. We just do it, So we have our policies on being clear on suspension, our pricing being set up in a way that people aren't going to want to suspend and terminate, some activations going on at the studio. Maybe it's a studio refresh. Maybe it's a thing where going back to setting up your own time in the summer, you take a little bit of time off. So instead of being like, oh, the summer just sucks and it's the worst. Maybe it's when you get to get your time off so we can refresh it in our mind. The sixth one I would say is being sure that you have really set pre-written responses in email and voice conversations for when people call or email to suspend or terminate. Do you have, or are you writing that from scratch every time? Do you have those already written out? Do you have downsells for them? Do you have policies in place for someone that says, oh, I'm only going to be able to, and you don't have a mini membership, say, you have people, I'm only going to be able to come once a week during the summer. So I'm just going to, cancel. Are you willing to cut their membership in half for 2 months? I mean, all of those are policies that you should have pre-done, so you don't have to think about them every time. And Miss Terry has her hand up.
Love that. Love those ideas. The other thing too is reframing. And I love that summer slump to summer slam, because I had summer slams. And I also think we have to reframe. We look at the attendance falling off and we think we're going to a slump. Decreased attendance, it does not equal decreased revenue necessarily, right? And the other thing too is, if people love your community, you prove the value of the community, they may or may not even suspend, because where I was in outside of Boston, a lot of people went to the Cape. They'd go to the Cape, they had places on the Cape. And I'm thinking any people, it's like wherever you pick where you're at, they go wherever. And maybe they don't go for the whole summer, but they're going for long weekends. Oh, I don't think. And over the years, because we were doing these things in the summertime, even though they weren't able to get there as much, they weren't even self-pausing their memberships, even if they were only coming 4 or 5 times a month, because they recognize the value and they like to do the things when they were back in the area. Yes, did we have people that would go for the whole like summer? Sure, and they would pause. But a lot of it was ebb and flow. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be gone 2 weeks here. I'm just going to cancel. I'm just going to suspend. And Josh says this is that it's easier to quit a membership than it is to quit a community, right? So if you build doing those things to build the value of your membership, so if they're going to be coming in and out in the summer, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to be gone 2 weeks, but I'm just going to keep my membership because I get so much value out of it, and I just want to keep it going. So there's, think about some of the strategies to Jen's point too, is part of your messaging is the benefits of a consistent practice and the things that can change more in the summertime. Particularly in New England, we talked about wintertime is more maintenance because it's colder and your body's tighter when you get here. Especially in the morning, your muscles are cold. Well, in the summertime, even in a 6 a.m. class or early morning class, you're nice and warm because you're already warmed up. So summertime is a time to deepen your practice, work on more of your flexibility because your muscles are. So there's lots of ways you can frame it. And I mean, I'm telling you, we would have really full classes in the evening. It'd be almost 100 degrees with heat index, be over 100 degrees. They'd be coming into a hot room and people loved it, right? I mean, we are a little bit crazy. We wouldn't have to turn the heat on. So you can think about things like that. Also, member events, do some members only event, like a picnic in a park, right? Really easy to do. You don't have to do the whole thing. I did that. I was just like, I provided non-alcoholic beverages and the paper products. It's just bring something to eat and something to share, right? If you want alcohol, bring it. Super easy to do. The other thing I did one summer was it kind of just sort of grew organically, but then I leaned into it. Friday night date night, right? We had a class and it was like, we made it like, hey, bring somebody, made it super easy, come take class, and people would take the class and then they'd go out for dinner or they meet a group of people. So you could have like, Friday night class and cocktails or something like that. So you can get really creative with things that are not necessarily high cost, but create value for your membership. And when you're out taking that time block walk on the afternoon, these are when these ideas can percolate. Like we're talking about when you're out of this, it's like, for me, a lot of my ideas would come when I'm taking a shower. It's like, it's like, boom, they pop in your head. Oh yeah, I can do that. So this is also time you can try different things, like pop-up classes, a great time if you're thinking of, oh, I want to see how this class is going to go, throw some pop-ups on the schedule, right? So you can get really creative about some of that type of stuff. Alex.
Yeah, I agree. And I think high level, I mean, what the issue is as studio owners that we are challenged with is that the reason this Summer Slam potential shows up is that the greater community as a whole, their life schedule changes. So when you look at it, we apply our regular diesel engine weekly teacher and class schedule, for 8 months a year or what have you. And everybody's in this sort of regular cycle of work, kids, school, spring break, etc. And then all of a sudden the days get longer and people take time off and the kids are out of school. So the schedule changes, but then we don't change. What we do, to Jennifer's point, is there's like what you hear a teacher say, oh, well, your body's already warmed up, come into the hot room, you're going to love it, it's all good. And that's all they have as an answer. So it's important that your staff and you as the studio owner have a plan, like you said, that you maybe plan it last November or what have you, but it's a great opportunity for offsites. It's a great opportunity to integrate into the community and like spread your brand and have like co-branding events with, whether it's a park or music, or we used to do hikes and yoga in the mountains, different opportunities that allow you to do things outside of the regular schedule that you apply 8+ months a year, And so that people do see these things. Oh yeah, Thursday nights, they do this kind of thing. And, then we go away for the weekend, or they just feel really a part of that community by having these unique events. And I think that you'll find that your revenue necessarily won't go down that much. And at the same time, if you've optimized your pricing, you're working with a coach or what have you, your sales process is in play, even if your revenue does go down a little bit, you're not so reliant on that because you're so strong through the rest of your year and you're not dealing with this spiky cash flow issue. And so, and in that sense, as an owner, once you get to that place and you've done your forecasting and what have you, you can enjoy the longer days, right? You get summer too, right? Jennifer?
I would say that, we're coming into summer, so putting these things into place might feel overwhelming and like, oh my gosh, I haven't done any of that stuff. Maybe just take one idea that we talked about today and commit to that one idea and put into place. And then the rest, the fall is going to be here before we know it. And that's where we plan for all of next year. So you have the opportunity to think about this summer, be in this summer, and just notice things that might not feel great for you or things that you wish you would have done. And instead of being frustrated about that, put those into action so that when you're working on your marketing plan for 2024, which will happen, believe it or not, soon, you can put it into action for next year. So don't leave this call frustrated. My suggestion would be pick one thing that we've said today and make that one thing happen. If you can only do one, and everybody can find half hour in their schedule next week that they make just their time. And it is the phone off time. It's a bubble bath. It's a walk. It's a listen to a podcast. It's whatever it is for a half hour. I guarantee you can find that in your week next week. But for the bigger items, the summer slam, the taking time away, kind of the reframing all of this and flipping it upside down, like the profit first model, put it into action for next year. So don't, if you find yourself frustrated right now, set yourself up so next year you're not feeling frustrated. You're feeling like, I'm ready for summer. I'm excited. Like I've got all these things in place and, I'm ready to knock it out of the park.
Love that. Yeah, summer's a good time too, just to, like Jen said, do some planning, do some thinking about what it is that you want to accomplish. It's also, if you haven't planned for the holidays, right? Getting things organized this is a good time if you're doing anything or planning to do a free yoga weekend in the fall, or you're planning to do something around Black Friday or something like a holiday challenge. We did a great webinar last summer called Christmas in July, right? And then also if you do retail, and you're going to be hearing more about this fabulous retail opportunity we have with our new retail partner Astral, is if you're going to be bringing things in for the holiday season, the time to place those orders is like in the fall, so that you're making sure you're getting the merchandise. If you're going to do anything branded or anything like that, start planning for those things while you're sitting maybe poolside or taking that walk or something like that. So this is the time where you could start to do some planning for the fall and into the holiday season. So be great. Wouldn't it be nice to have everything planned out, the emails, everything done for the holiday season, so that particularly here in the States, it seems to be earlier and earlier because Halloween's become such a big deal now. But, basically it's like from the mid-November through the end of first of the year, it's like, just crazy time. And wouldn't it be nice if you had all that stuff done so you can actually take time during the holidays to enjoy whatever holiday you celebrate, whatever you choose to do, that you have time to do it. And that,
it's the old super annoying adage of working on your business versus working in your business, which, like, if I had $1 for every time I heard that phrase, unfortunately, it's super true, right? Like, instead of in your day just putting out fires and, oh shit, I got to get that done. Oh, that was due at 3:00 yesterday. La 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 la, all that stuff. Like, that is such like a rabbit wheel. It's not a rabbit wheel. What's it called?
Hamster wheel.
Hamster wheel. I'm busy thinking about
rabbits.
I'm down the rabbit hole with the rabbit poops. A hamster wheel. Like, it's really hard to get off of that. But if you, imagine how we've all been there, where I had my weekly call with my team yesterday, and I had prepared, since I was gone last week leading a retreat, I had prepared our document to talk about yesterday, last week. And normally I do it the day before, but I done it last week. And of course I'd forgotten. So then I went into the document and I was like, oh my gosh, look at me. I did it last week. Like a real business owner, like I'm prepared and everything. Like you feel so good when you set yourself up like that. So, you know, it's those planting of the seeds, right, for the future. So even if it's just a matter of, I always tell people, like, just make the Google Doc. Just make the doc that says Black Friday 2023, right? That's the first step. Make that doc. That's the hardest step, right? And then put one thing in there. Now it started. Now, when you think of things, the doc is ready. You just go in there, you just word vomit in. I mean, really, it is just a matter of making that freaking document that starts the ball rolling, right? It's just, we have to get something that starts the energy going forward, or it doesn't go anywhere.
I actually would say if I had this phrase, because I know that one, but this is the phrase that if I could probably have just retire is, if I had money for every time I heard this. Is this your real job as a yoga studio owner? Is this your real job? Did you ever guys get that? I got that. Is this your real job? Do you do anything else? It's like owning your own business isn't a real job. I would just crack me up.
I could think of a lot of things to say back to that person.
Yeah. So I would just, politely smile and say, yeah, this is pretty much all pretty much all I do. But I was like, what? I think some people have a concept, oh, you're a yoga teacher, you open a yoga studio, teach them classes, you open the door, and that's it. Anyway, Alex.
Yeah, I would just say, well, now I'm thinking you spun me off in a different world. Oh, I would just say for all the studio owners that are listening and that will watch is ask yourself today, take a minute and sit down and ask yourself if what you're doing right now and the way that you're working on or in your business or what have you, is it sustainable? Does it feel sustainable? And I think sometimes, inevitably as an entrepreneur, yogapreneur, you may be in non-sustainable moments where you're micromanaging and you're deep in it. Okay, that's part of being a leader and owner of studio. But overall, quarter to quarter, year to year, what you're doing, is it sustainable? Meaning energetically, the amount of hats you're wearing, the amount of responsibilities that you're carrying, the amount that you carry into your sleep and they wake up, handling in the morning. And if it's not, was that your intention when you opened? No. To Terry's point, when people ask you, is this all you do, is own a yoga studio? A lot of people get into yoga studio ownership, don't recognize that how much of a business it is. The front of the house, the back of the house, and the greater community as a whole. But if it's not sustainable, it's a great time to get a coach to help you create systems that are sustainable, that create space and time, and then create success and profitability, period.
Great points. I would challenge everybody in the comments below, after you watch this, commit to when your half hour is next week. Write it in there, let everybody know next Wednesday from 3:45 to, 4:15 Pacific time is my time, or whatever you can commit to. Write it down, put it in the comments, and then go into your calendar and block that out as non-negotiable time. Stick to it, do it next week and see how it feels.
And also, if it's not, we still have spots if you really want to get, my video went all blurry, is you want to get your plan, everything done for 2023 and what you're going to do, there's still spots for the summit, right? So you can check, it's in the event section for the summit. There's still spots to sign up. The people who go, our clients who go, are like, wow, this is like amazing. You'll leave the summit with a clear idea of what you're going to be doing. And oh my gosh, 2024. And just for the record, that's going to be my 45th high school reunion in 2023. I'm like, OMG. It's my 40th this year from college. So it's just beyond my imagination. So anyway, so book the summit. And then also any of this stuff, you're like, oh, how do I start? If you don't have a coach, feel free, any of us, we all reach out, sign up, do a free coaching call with any of us. We could be happy, like to Jen's point, what's the one thing you want to do? And you're like, how do I get this done? Well, we can help you map that out on a free coaching call, right? For our existing clients, if something jumped at you, write it on the issues and action, your issues and question lists on your one-on-one tracking doc, so we can talk about it on our next coaching call. So lots of resources for all of you, because we are on a mission to help 1,000 yoga studios be 30% more profitable by the year 2025. And we want to help you in our mission. So comment below. We'd love to see like Jen's point, what's your one thing? What's the time you're blocking out? And maybe if you're willing to share, what are you going to do in that half an hour or hour that you've managed to carve out, right? So, and then just, take that time for yourself, whatever it is, and let us know. So anything else from the team? This has been an interesting, I love how our roundups just kind of go, we call it a roundup. We just really never know what's going to come up during this.
Yep. I mean, when I woke up this morning, I had no idea I would be talking about rabbit poop. So we're fine. Always tune into the roundup because we talk about shit.
We do talk about shit. It's like, hashtag rabbit poop.
Oh gosh.
All right. Thanks.
All right, guys.
Everybody have a great time. And I would say weekend, but to quote the Lady Dowager Countess Grantham from Downton Abbey, weekend, what's a weekend? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, love it. That's a great, you want to do some binging, Downton Abbey's a great show to binge on, right? Okay, go do some yoga, have fun, reach out, any questions, we are here to support you. Comment below
On your